Hi, folks. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into our usual sets of conversation, I do have a few things I need to discuss as necessary with this channel. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, and Steve Augusto. That list of worthies was just scrolled across the bottom of your screen, and they are my Patreon folks who, from their generosity, I am able largely to keep this channel and indeed the local Historical Fencing Guild going at large. For as little as $1 a month, you help me save up to be able to go to afford to go to demos like what we had at the Shakespeare, at the opening for the Gary Shakespeare Company's event. It also helps me buy gear to review, which I have this habit of donating to people who need it. It's just a good way to keep things going. We can also support the channel and support yourself by looking at my book, The Simple Sword, and The Fighting Axe, and The Simple Spear, all part of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled the sword to wielding and teaching the art to others. We have one other announcement before I get into things, because we are made possible by our good friends at the Independent Creator Directory, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, artists, and musicians. If you have a small project and you're looking for the people who can collaborate and help you make it happen, find editors and proofreaders for books, etc., go to IndieCD.org. If you're looking for your next new favorite author, go to IndieCD.org. And if you need a place where you're hosted as a small creator, go to IndieCD.org and use this link. And I will get a small percentage back, and it will be less because if you use Podcast One, the lifetime fee, because you only have to pay once, will go down from $40 to only $20. And that gives you access to the community calendar, so you can find out what kind of conventions and things are going on in your area, a private message board kind of social media where the creatives can talk to each other about conventions, about projects, about working with what websites you're working with. It's really a great service. And that just went on Walkabout. Give me a second. I'm not just, a spokesperson. I am proud to be a member. I also want to remind folks that we will be talking about Purple Heart Armory. If you are going to go to Purple Heart Armory, please use this link, because that tells them that they're people I sent from you. And again, I may get I want to say 3% back on any sales that you guys make. It would be much appreciated. Okay. Now, the other announcement I have is in a little over 3 weeks, or around 3 weeks, I will be at an event. That is, and let me get this, StompCon, which is a gaming event that's free to the public in Fowler, Indiana. Let me just move my banner for a second. Because I am also a tabletop game designer. I sell all my books basically at all the events. So you can get the sword books if you're interested in that. You can do tabletop gaming, RPGs. We've got 2 game stores out. You'll be able to look at their resources, meet some of the other guildies like Joe and Trelana Bachman. It's going to be a great time. And like I said, it's free to come through the door. So come on by, check us out. Okay? Now, let me check the comments. Okay. Now that we're fixed there, we can talk about what's going on and what. Oh, I got to put my banner back. Today I do have some things I want to talk about, because I received some questions from Reddit and a few other people about getting started and who can and can't. And I'm very, very impassioned on the subject, because apparently, wow, I can call a 30-year-old woman a young lady. It just occurred to me. Anyway, I wouldn't, because it's not quite there, but that's just weird. Anyway, for a lovely seeming young lady. So yeah, there we go. was asking if 30 was too old to start HEMA training. And I want to get right into that discussion because I responded to her, but a lot of people will build barriers and they won't wait for somebody to gatekeep them out of what we do. They will let their beliefs gatekeep them out. I believe that Western martial arts are an art, and any art is there for everyone. So no, Virginia, you are not too old to learn, and in point to be potentially competitive. I have found, now this was back when I was meeting the SCA standards of safety and such, but I trained a large number of people through their first and subsequent authorizations back in the day. And the minimum I found was about a month. If you do your homework, which means you do your drills every day, you do your footwork every day, you do your literal homework of knowing the answer to the questions that they're going to ask, you can find that the if assuming you're physically fit enough to do it, you should be able to authorize in about a month. That's the minimum. Not that you couldn't fake it, but that also gives you 4 practices worth of experience plus all your drilling. That is about the minimum. If you're working on it every day or you're close enough to, like, the people who were regularly seeing me, on almost a daily basis, of course, they advance much faster. But the working through the basics took about a month. Now, I would say it takes about 3 months to 6 months minimum of going to a couple events, continuing to train, research, and get your gear together, because you will never fight as well in someone else's gear or loaner gear as you do in your own. To get where I would consider the potential to be good. And, between 6 months and a year, you should be able to, you can, as soon as you authorize, you can participate in a tourney, and you never know. But the people are saying you can't over a certain age. That's balderdash. And I want you to realize that people are here and they'll support you. Now, the other thing that was asked once again was, how do I tell how long a sword should be to work for me? So let me see if I have something long enough, because a great many of my, okay, this will work. Okay. This is viable for me because the blade is shorter than or equal to the reach on my midsection. So if you take the center line that runs from right between your eyes and nose straight down to where your legs meet, that center line is half your wingspan. The blade should be no longer than that if you intend to draw it. Yes, you can draw longer blades with specific techniques. Yes, especially the Spanish favored them. However, I try to be pragmatic in my training and my weapon suggestions. And if you need a really, really long blade to make a technique work, it's a very, very specific technique. And I prefer to teach people to be more generalist. So if you're watching this, ma'am, I hope that is of help to you, either now or in the future. We also have, under our auspices to discuss, there are some people who I went to discuss the where to start. And we'll get into the comments. I haven't even looked at them yet. But when you are getting started, the place you want to start with is, can you maintain a reasonable stance? While you should know all 9 guards and you should read up on it and try to understand, it is obvious to most folks that most of your time is spent in okay, in third position. So grabbing my stick that is every other weapon for a moment. The blade is facing that way. So the blade is edged down in this case. I'm using this for safety and to keep YouTube off my back. If we have first, second, third, and fourth. You're going to start in third. You keep your blade aimed where roughly chest, neck, lower face. That's where your blade's going to live. And you're going to maintain it while you're doing your footwork drills. And yes, you will start with your footwork. And I go into it extensively in the book, but it boils down to the martial arts equivalent of the box step is where you're going to start. You're going to advance, step to the side, retreat, step to the other side, and work this way around. You can go both ways. You're going to spend a lot of time doing this. This is to teach you how to walk without crossing your legs. Now, some people who have advanced backgrounds in dance, they have advanced backgrounds in other martial arts. You don't need this step, but I always gear towards this is what we do if you've never handled the sword, and we're going to build you on up. So you work on that, because what you're doing while you're doing these steps isn't just making sure your footwork is correct. You're making sure your posture is correct. You're not overcommitting and leaning, falling back, leaning. You want to be roughly neutral. Your feet shouldn't be narrower than about shoulder width and no wider than about half farther than a normal step. That would be the most extreme. So comfortable, natural step. The foot that is leading in that direction. So you know what we'll do? I have graphics I can bring up, but we'll make it simpler. 1 second. Oh, that's not the one I need. Hold on. Boom. I said boom. So, there we go. We'll just do this, do this, do this, and do this. Boom. And we'll add that to the stage. Now, give me a second. Being that I am of artist leanings occasionally, I need to switch my things over. So we're going here, going to the Millipen because I need a decent one. And we are opening up a layer. So we'll make a new layer. We'll just do this. This is fun. This is great. I work with this. So we're going to talk footwork because I was asked to discuss this and give a quick reminder. Pardon my handwriting. It's been a long day. When I say box step, okay, you are going to stand with your lead foot. So if you're left-handed, it's your left foot. If you're right-handed, it's your right foot. We're working with the righties, and we're going to go from there. So you have your right. As you can see, my hands are a little shaky today. Again, I apologize. If you are standing like this, and these are your feet, you're going to move the foot that is closest to the direction you want to go, which means the right foot goes forward and right first. The left foot goes back or left, and this is first. Okay? So let me just get rid of a bunch of that. If we are going left, the left foot extends comfortably, 1, and then the right foot extends comfortably, 2. You get that? Real simple, real clear. For a lot of people in the chat, this is very basic, but this has been requested, and I'm going to cover it. If you're going down, let's just, give me a second, let's just do this. If you're going down, so we've got Yeah, that pen was not helping me at all. R down, right. Left foot goes back first to here. And that only puts you at a little bit wider. You don't want a lot of motion in this. That's at least a start. L, R. So from this, you can postulate if you were going right, you're going forward, or right, you do the same thing. So what we have, my eraser, I'll redraw the left foot because I got sloppy there. That's fine. If we're going to our right, so that's our direction, right foot first, left foot second. This is the basic form of movement. And what that's going to do is basically give you a box to work with. That should be one comfortable step per side. And you're going to spend a lot of time in this happy little box. So you're going to hopefully end up in the same position at the end of travel that you started in. Okay. If you are at home, what you could do is either lay down some tape that won't, cause too much trouble, like masking tape. If you are outside in a sidewalk, you can use chalk. Mark this off and work at it because you never want to overcommit. So that's one thing you're going to need to know is this box step. It's very simple. You just practice the motions and then you go back the other way. And it seems elementary, I will admit, but you need that solid basis because whenever you're learning to sword fight, it doesn't matter what style you're in. Back here. Wasn't it? You have to learn, well, helps to have the actual pen out, stance, footwork, blade work. And you're going to go in this order. And then, of course, cohesion. Now, what we're doing here, we're going for the idea that your stance should be balanced at all times. I don't want you overcommitting to a lunge. I don't want you taking these big jumps. I don't want you crossing your legs. As a beginner, you need to make sure you are always balanced and comfortable. Footwork. Never cross legs. Never over extend. Okay? The reason we're not overextending is because if we take too big of a lunge, we become unstable from the sides. So, since we all understand this, give me just a second. What do I mean about that? All right, we're going to draw our dude real quick. Oh boy, we're really getting into the land of stick figures here, but that's okay. Well, that's really off balance. Hold on. There we go. All right. That's what's wrong here. Now, I'm drawing this left-handed to make it easier for you to see, but you can obviously flip it as needed. So this foot is pointed this way. This foot is pointed this way. This hand is up where it can be used. Because if you don't have your offhand up in the in your heads-up display, if you don't see your hands, as soon as it drops, you will forget it's there. When you move, when you step, you want to be as level as possible. There will be a slight dip because your body drops just a bit before you get there. But this is what we want to be. We want as little. Okay? We don't want a lot of head bob. We want to be able to move forward, move backwards. The reason for this is to, it disguises the movement. It helps mess with the range. You learn this level of control, you know your range better, and you know your opponent's range, your distance between each other. So we're looking at this from a very simple mindset right now. Now, if you are going to lunge, this, I'm going to pull our guy down quite a bit for a second. There we go. Come up here. If this is a normal step, the lunge should be no farther than a foot reach from it. So what does that mean? You have stepped. This is up here. Now this, hold on, I need to fix something because your body is going to be leaned. This is where you're going to want to do, but you want to train it as upright as possible, okay? Let me pull that down so it's a little even farther, so it's a little easier to see. Do you see the step process? Boom. Now, you will eventually develop, oops, wrong layer. You will develop a bit of a lean on your lunge. Everybody does, but it needs to be consistent. So your first lunges will be very straight. What I don't want is an extreme lunge, okay? So if I come here, an Olympic style lunge oftentimes looks something more like, I'm going to do this in red. I need to pull this down. So I want you to see, there we go. This guy. No, good. That foot may be all the way out here. This foot has rotated quite a bit to offset. You are still very lean. This is way out there. Your lower body And these can go way down. I mean, I've seen them where the body is more like this. Actually, here, let's do it like that. I want you to see what extreme lunge looks like. I'll do that because I want to keep that anchor point. Let me get back. And I hope I'm making sense, but you get that torque in the hips. And this can go way down. And that means your shoulders here. And you're way out there. We're off screen with the sword. But we don't want that. Okay? We do not want that. That is a batsu. That is a no, 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 no. And the reason we don't want that is best explained from the top. So, let me see this. I have that layer back, please. Thank you. We'll go back to our first color. We'll just go back. That's all. We got it better. You're going to start gray. Now, this is as seen from the top. Wait, hold on. I was doing it left-handed, so I have to keep the image left-handed, or else it won't make a lot of sense. Okay. Our lefty has a sword out. You can see his foot. You can see his foot. He's balanced. Okay. Other arm is out, and we're not really worried about what he's doing with it, but he's keeping it fairly close to the midline. Let me take this. Okay. Anyway, I hate that the new paste doesn't look that well. We'll worry about that later. If he lunges as I'm saying, the only difference is, so I'm going to go blue and just that would be a normal step. His foot's only out here. The whole head moves to the center of the arrangement, as does everything else. Oh, that is really hard to understand. I should have done this on separate layers. I'll do it on separate layers then. Add another layer. Take the opacity down on the sky. So, sorry, I've done this. I've discussed this a lot. Oh, this goes here. There we go. This is the copulator, so that means I should be able to go. Yes. Excellent. Okay. Sorry about that. But we're working on this layer. Oh. If our fella, he, she, it, they, wrong button, Nikolai, lunges, he's only going to gain a little bit more, little bit angle of his body. And I'm saying he because I am a he. Same thing happens with women. Don't worry about it. His hand is still there. This foot is here. This foot is probably back here a bit. Okay? He's gained a bit of reach, but he hasn't completely, actually, that's, one sec. Ooh. Pulled that too far. That's better. I want the blade to be in line. Doesn't matter a little bit to get things to scale. There we go. Okay. So he stepped. To get there, he's had to make quite a step, but his back foot is still roughly here. Now, if we do an Olympic-style lunge, the body is almost fully committed, or is fully committed sideways. The step is much, much longer. At this point, the hand, the support hand might even be touching the ground. And yes, actually this hand would be it's across over there. This would be way out there. The problem being that this structure is still reasonably well supported, whereas this structure, excuse me, do this again. So this structure, see the structure? It's still square. It can take force and movements from any side. This structure, you see how narrow it suddenly becomes? Now, this makes sense on a strip. On a modern fencing list, you do not have side-to-side motion for the most part. But this gives you a lot of area to be leveraged over. It is easier to be knocked over by somebody coming around. So let me fetch. There we go. Lots of area, not a lot of support on this axis. So you want to keep your lunges controlled and minimalist, because we do not train in my system from the perspective of from the perspective of a single person. Because all that fun that we just saw makes perfect sense, and we're going to pan out even farther for a second. If we've got one person with a sword versus another person with a sword by themselves. And you know, they can be facing each other. It doesn't matter. We deal with so many lefties and righties. Kind of Rayman them. You can see their feet, you can see their shoulders, you can see their arms, you can see their hands. That's what you need. Going solely this way makes sense. It's easy to understand because the list that they are fighting on is essentially, and this is not to scale, a narrow strip. They are forced to maintain the line of attack. When you are fighting in the round, even with two people, try to keep my scales somewhat close. Same people, right? Same foot here, same foot here. And, you know, we've got a lefty fighting a righty. That's fine. It happens all the time. I love when that happens. But they're both in proper stance. There isn't a necessity to completely stay here. Yes, this is the line of attack. We'll spend a lot of time talking about that later. But they also can come around and hit you from the side. They can, you know, cut out this way. And if you overcommit to a lunge, you're vulnerable. The other big problem with how we train and how I train versus how they train is they train from the perspective of one bad guy. I've never met bad guys, as a rule, who travel alone. There's always another 7-letter word. So you need to be able to move, to juke, to do whatever you have to do to avoid. It's dynamic. That means you need a strong, solid base. Now, this is why, before we get into the fancy lunges, we have to start with a safe step. And he's doing a little step. It's harder to see. He's doing the step. And we have to understand how to stand. Man, okay, he's rocking dad bod. That's fine. Okay. Because first we stand, then we sit, and then we lunge, which is how you go for a lunge. A lunge is 3 beats. Extend, which is you just throwing your sword out. Step, actually it's 4 because you have to retract, which is going back here. Either forward or backward, you move your body while you're defended, and then recover. So your sword comes in, you go in. Boom, 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 boom. And it becomes a 4-beat. You can dance to it. We'll talk more about that style of lunging and movement later. This is very simple. This is not Bagua circles. This is not advanced stuff. Now, circling your opponent to play reach games is a good thing. Bagua loves it. Different Chinese systems love it. But when we get into talking about that, which I know Thesis is just foaming at the mouth to do likely, like I said, I haven't looked at the comments yet. For what I'm teaching, where's my pen? Thank you. Opponent. These are 2 fighting people, right? Between, and we'll just do this to make it easy. Lead foot, back foot. Don't even need their arms yet. Between this foot and this foot, so if I go, this professional artist, I still miss no lines. This would be your line of attack. Okay, I'm going to use it to my part. And I'm sorry, the storm is affecting my streaming, so we'll have to fix it. But let me bring this back up because this is really important stuff. And I said I would cover it, so I am covering it. So there we go. At the stage. The internet is angry. So we have our line of attack. Now, people have heard about the Spanish magic circle and all this, and it can get very complex. But I'm going to make it easier on myself. I really am. Go right here. Go right about here to right about there. The Spanish magic circle is just a line. It is just a circle that you can do between you and your opponent that is same diameter as your line of attack, from your lead foot to their lead foot. Now, what that means is if you're holding your sword out stretched, right? Let me get the sword out. Let me get a different color for the sword. They're holding the sword out stretched. They have to travel this much distance to get the sword into the other guy, right? You can see that. But if they take their right foot, keeping their sword locked, and do a little sidesteppy, we'll say over. Over here, the distance that they have to extend, if at all, because their body has shifted, is only this far, which cuts off a chunk of that line. You see how that brings your blade work forward. Being able to understand this will eventually make it a lot easier to deal with very aggressive people. And this counters the Italian classic overextended lunge quite handily. It's one of the reasons why the combination of the longer rapier and the Spanish style led to the death of so many English duelists, to the point that a law was passed on sword length regulations. Now, I've been talking about this to cover and get you guys back into this. But I need to go through the chat real quick and see what you guys have been talking about. All right. Foxy, evening, everyone. Hope today was a good day. I believe it was. And hi, Alec. Sorry, but this is actually really in your bailiwick because you're kind of starting to live at the footwork and blade work before we shuffle these in together. Good to see you. Hope you had a good day. And mostly, at least my dresser looks nicer. That's about all I got done. Some days, that's all you're going to get done. That's still good. Indeed, I needed it. I can find things now. I need a lot of that. And Alex says, oh, see, I love when I'm right on topic. Alex says something I've been working on over a course of time. Footwork. It's looking prettier. My balance is getting better with it. The more fencing footwork you do, the better overall your balance will be, because you're getting used to moving. This is literal physical education. Physical education shouldn't be about doing this many jumping jacks and this running this mile. That's irrelevant. Physical education is about knowing your body, and it is the improvement that matters. It is understanding how your balance works. It is understanding how to move in a way that you're not hurt, how to fall so you don't get hurt, where your limits are, and then slowly building past them. But they don't teach it that way. They tell you to do a bunch of things without necessarily explaining why. I may be neurodivergent. I am neurodivergent. But for me to get blanket orders on, well, you need to be able to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, why? I found out a lot of the whys doing Western martial arts. And good. I'm very proud of you. It's always easier to start from the groundwork, so footwork and balance. Yes. And hello, Thesis. And hello, Foxy. I'm just kind of going down the line. And hey, Sarah. Hey, Nick, I'm on the other YouTube channel with the rest of the chat, but this is the only one that gave me a notification. Stop my Fast and Furious binge. Well, to get to mine, you want to go to the Historical Fencing Guild, all one word. But I do stream to IndieCD for this exact reason, because it helps people find their way onto my program. And if there's any chat business, I'll get it to you. And hello, Dawn. And Dawn, then what would you call me? I'm sorry? Oh, ma'am, probably. It is weird. My older niece is 31. Impossible because of my reality. I'm still in my mid to late 20s. We all feel that way. However, my oldest nephew is really approaching 50. It gets complicated. I saw a similar Reddit, only was 34-year-old journey trained with her father as a child. I told her it's never too late to start a martial journey. And it's on the Kung Fu. Yeah, excellent. And Evening Kitty. Hey, Kitty. Hey, Kitten. And I'm Southpaw, so listening to it. I love lefties. Many of my students are lefties or trained lefty. I actually started SCA fencing with a broken right wrist due to an off-road skateboarding accident. So I started lefty. It made me very ambidextrous. Now, I will apologize. My broadcast numbers are fluctuating a lot in the strength, so I may get cut off again. But I wanted to really get on topic today and get back to talking about the kind of things you want. And right now I have 7 people. It's very low for a Friday, but a lot of my people also end up in the green room, and then they come back and they catch my videos later. So we'll just see how it goes. Has anyone asked you who taught you, and are you self-taught or both? Yes, many people have asked me, and I will give you the answer. I originally started teaching myself weapons from whatever books I could acquire, and I did that for many, many years. Somewhere I have the world's ugliest bokken. I briefly associated with a gentleman who was teaching me modern Olympic saber, and I learned a lot from him. I then trained at Purdue under a professor whose name I will not give because he deserves no fame, no credit. He is not a very nice person. So instead of bashing him or anything, he was my first teacher. That first teacher was problematic, but because of him being problematic, I actually found one of my great callings in life, which is working with non-traditional Western martial arts students. After I had gotten in the group, I learned from, my actual first sword master was a man named Aiden Yakus, also Dennis Yakus, Aiden McDougall, SCA, everybody has multiple names. And then I learned a great deal from Bob Houghton and Jody Kingerly. Then they got married, so they're both Houghtons now. But I would say that Dennis was my swordmaster. I learned a huge amount from him, and he has severe rheumatoid arthritis, limited mobility. So that encouraged me to. I'd broker no tolerance for people who whine about limitations, stopping them. I actually authorized for the first time in his borrowed armor because they kind of talked me into doing it. And he was smaller than I was, so I didn't have a full range of motion. And after I authorized, they talked to your fencing style's a little stiff. You might want to loosen up. I said, well, the problem is I only have this much motion in this borrowed armor. And they went, oh. So I did well. I continued to do well. Then I started working on Eastern stuff, and the Eastern stuff I trained with came a lot from John Miner, also known as Torvald Swakhammer. Jesse Tibbetts taught me a great deal. Amanda Tucker, my wife, taught me a great deal about staff and glaive work. I had done archery before then. John taught me thrown weapons. I taught John rapier in trade for some other things. So there was a lot of conversational training, and that became the source. And while I was doing that, I was reading historical manuals by the dozens, everything I could get my hands on. And what I realized was most of the time, 60 to 80% of what was being said was agreed upon. And then they would argue about the other stuff, sometimes quite vehemently. I do encourage anyone who gets a chance to read George Silver's Paradoxes of Defense, because the amount of shade he throws at Spanish swordmasters is delightful, especially someone who quite likes the Destreza style of defense. After that, like I said, I read a lot of books. I studied a lot of things. I got a hold of many DVDs and things by Dr. Yang Jung-Ming, who had access to The Fundamentals of Sword is a must view for anyone who wants to get in Jin. In my opinion, at that time I was also doing Tai Chi and a few other things. And then I started meeting with other people and watching people, and by simply paying attention, I could pick up and then imitate, again, 60 to 80% of anyone's given style. And while I was doing that and studying, I was taking notes and processing things. And I took what I knew and what was in my notes, and I compiled it, and the training things and armoring techniques. And then I put it into this, which is the full simple sword. My copies over here are a little beat up. But and then I worked with more and more people, and I got to spar with people like Sword Sage and a few others. And Sword Sage and I, like, that period of my life was when I got to play with inverse Chinese. So a lot of it was East meets West. And there are a couple of videos that I am saddened were destroyed, especially the ones where I look good. I noticed a couple of the ones where I looked really good. Oh, I'm sorry, that didn't get recorded right. Anyway, no, I'm joking with him because he's a good guy. But I read dozens of manuals. I found my personal favorite manual to be The Rapier or The Soleil by Nicola Gigante, the Tom Leone translation. Everyone, it's sensible. And it was built for, his style was built for more pragmatic fighting. It was built for more smaller statured people. And because I specialized by then in working with women, people with physical limitations, and people with other backgrounds that were deemed not marketable. By that, the group I was in at the time and the area had a tendency towards being very, they saw information and training as commodities, and they saw having students as feathers in your cap. And because of that, I ended up training a lot of people in secret because they didn't want people to know they were getting trained either by me or getting things that were repaired. Because my former instructor, not Dennis, my former instructor, who shall remain nameless, would intentionally train flaws into his students, because that was something that was done in period by real sword masters. They would teach a flaw to be sure they could beat anybody they fought. But it's been asked a few times. I don't mind answering it again, because new people come in and I have to retread this sort of thing. Let me see. I'm sorry, but after that, I had so many. I had a wonderful day of fighting and education from a gentleman by the name of Professor Peter, and so many other wonderful fencers I bumped into. I got to spar with Moonwolf, also known as Michael Longcore, Duke Sir Master Moonwolf Starkonson. Just an absolute intimidating deity. I got to fight with a 7 foot tall man named Magnus. I got to fence him. I got to fence with I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was a bronze medal Olympian in like the late 80s. So I got to train with some really great people. And more importantly, I got to watch them and pay attention. And I take training like a buffet. I watch, I go, you did a thing. And I tried to pay attention to that. So I was very good at either recognizing people's trick shots or simply being able to acquire them by osmosis. Let me get this comment done. And let's see. And hi, Dave. Sorry it took me so long to get to you. Fencing fun to watch at the Olympics. It is. And let's see. These saying overcommitting to a wide strike is bad news. If you miss, you are wide open. Yes, it will take longer to get back to your starting base. That is why I drill the 4-beat lunge, the 4-count lunge. Anybody who's been in my training will hear oh God, Nick's doing lunge drills. And then you will mourn. Your knees will hate you for a while. Your hips will hate you for a while. But it is the right way to do it. And it is extend, because many times your opponent will gleefully jump on the end of your sword. Step. You step with your sword extended. Retract, where you pull back the sword into a defensive position to cover yourself as you then recover, either recovering back to where you were or getting your back foot under you with the ground you've gained, depending on what you want to do and how the fight is going. Extend, step, retract, recover, extend, step, retract, recover, extend, step, retract, recover. I spend a lot of time doing this. This is how you get your lunges down. And the only way to do it is to do it. You have to put time in. And Hagen Tex. If anyone's watching on the show on the chat, they're most likely on Nick's channel. Sorry about that. Uh-oh. And I just haven't switched over to find out. Been a weird day, and there's too much work right now. Hey, you do what you got to do. Internet is angry. That's why we're trying to get through our hour and go. You're all good, Nick. I was explaining why there could be comments but unseen. Oh, okay. And in Chinese, a race fighting platform is called a lei tai. And that's cool. There, just don't be there. The best way to avoid overextended lunges. That's part of it. Yeah. And Alec, hey kiddo, mine. I claimed it first in writing. Actually, no, you didn't. And no, you didn't. Trust me. We are a few beats away from a lawyer if need be on that one. But I'll let him play with you, Sarah. I'm generous that way. Sidestep the lunge and attack the open back. Absolutely. When I take physical ed this year, I can say I got in with doing drills. And this is valid. Western martial arts are a valid sport. It transfers over to a lot of things. Do you know, it never occurred to me, it didn't occur to me, despite the title of the show, that I thought this was more than about. That's why all the parrying. I wouldn't be able to learn that. Yes, you would. Sarah, I'm certain I can teach you. I taught legally blind people. I taught people with extreme physical limitations. I have taught PTSD veterans not how to fight, but how to control the reaction that comes from fighting. I've worked with many sexual assault survivors and unaliving, because they get funny about that word. I'm going to say it. Suicide attempt survivors, because we shouldn't sanitize words like that. They need to exist. To help build up confidence, regain self-power, gain the sense of self to be able to leave abusive situations. Anybody can learn this. And I will tell you, most people, there are only about 3 reasons someone is quote unquote clumsy. The first reason is a physical issue of the ear that fundamentally affects their balance. I actually have some of that. Much of the time when you see me walking with a cane or a stick, it is because of my balance issues and the fact that I have paralysis. I can never say the word, but in my hips, that occasionally my legs will turn off. It's much better as I've lost weight. It's much better as I exercise. But I still, for safety, am not really supposed to leave the house without a stick. So something like that can make you clumsy. But the vast majority of the time, your mind is somewhere than in your body. You're thinking about something other than what you need to be doing, which is when you are fencing or you are engaged in marksmanship. And this is why I tend to lean towards teaching both, even as shenanigan-worthy seeming as Nerf blasters. Learning to aim and focus is a great way to practice focusing your attention and drowning out and letting go of the distractions and clearing your mind. It doesn't matter what you're learning to aim. So archery, air rifles, actual firearms, duck hunt, I don't care what. But if you take it seriously and you learn to aim and work through it, and you learn to control your breathing, that will make you less clumsy because you are pulling yourself into your body. And that's something I have a lot of trouble with as somebody who has a rather severe ADHD, well, ADD technically, because they didn't want to give me the H. And I was diagnosed at 41, 42. I think I'm a year into my diagnosis. I'd have to double check. This far. It's very challenging. But part of it is balance issues, in part because your mind is wandering outside your body. So you can learn that. And that was my issue with my Shifu. He thought to be a good assistant, you need to be able to do 1,000 kicks and other. There are some people who follow that route. If you mean 1,000 in a row, okay. That's not unheard of. Despite my assorted disabilities, I throw between 200 and 300 shots a night, depending on what needs to be worked on. Every night. I can't go to sleep if I don't. It bugs me. Been that way for a long time. I have to do my drills. If I don't, I am sore the next day and I am like soul sick. It's not good. Have to clear the mind, focus the mind through the body, and you get along. Fighting style until Alex no longer a minor, because exactly. That's why I haven't trained Alec. I have suggested trainings for Alec. The second Alec is 18, Alec will get training. And I think I enjoyed running as an adult because I learned how to improve myself instead of competing with others and being judged. Exactly. I used to, when I was young, I was a cross-country runner. And I was on the cross-country team. I wasn't very good because I was rather slow comparatively. And I was in a lot of pain. I actually hurt myself severely. We found out later that because my ankles are malformed, I was doing hideous damage. And I was actually fracturing my femurs every time I did it. So there was pain. I don't run anymore. I walk when I can, and that's out of necessity. But I do miss it because it was great to have that freedom. And who knows, as I lose weight, maybe I can start to get that back. But my body doesn't absorb impact right. It's also why I got out of parkour free running. Oh, the things you're hearing about me from the old days before I was this humble little fat man who's not that interesting. And yeah, you could spot a mistake in a form by just seeing it if I didn't know the form. Well, part of it is if you're going to be an educator, you need to know far more than your students. And what you have is tremendous talent and perception. Then it's on you to find the vocabulary to discuss it. That's part of growing up not as a swordsman. What you're doing as a swordsman is fine. As an individual, learning that way is great. If you're going to pass it on to others, you need to either find the vocabulary or do something to establish a vocabulary where people can have the conversation. And that's part of what the Simple Sword does, and that's what the Historical Fencing Guild's been proud to do for many years. And yeah, Jack was weird that way, okay? Oh, Nick, you'd appreciate this. Buttons kind of care, chaotic neutral kind of don't. With the gradient, of course. Nice. And I am all about bartering. I love bartering, guys. I love trading things. Oh, yes. Jesse Tsao is very good as well. It's just Dr. Yang was the resource I got a hold of. And I actually have somewhere some VCDs that I have no idea the name of the gentleman because they're entirely in Chinese. But at one point I was learning something called the 7-point style, and I'd love to get back into it. It was a very simple, sane style. Jack was also impressed people who could learn multiple forms and sort. But when you're learning 5 or 6 forms in 3 months, you aren't really learning the form. That depends on the individual. I've met some people who are adept enough to do so. However, I don't think in forms. Forms different from what I do is the maneuvers are memorized like a dance to practice and learn them. This is what Cindy Kep does. This is what Thesis does. This is what Kitty does, I believe. I am more a composer than a player of song. What I do is I teach the notes, and I make sure you know the notes, and then I teach you how to perceive where to put them instead of doing it all in one, because my mind does not work with memorization by rote. It is not how my mind processes data. I need all the connections and why they're connected. And I need to be able to take the Lego pieces apart of any given concept, spin them around in my head, go this, why is this here? Okay, that means it's connected to this. And it just explodes kind of Jarvis style. I think in 3D renders, it's weird. But that's also how I teach. What happened? Oh, don't be mad. Hope things are now. I'm scared now. Joke. He claimed first in writing, in chatting. Sarah. In writing, in person. Yeah, we're all over the other channel. I can link if you want. Of Nick, but that's not being literate. I get it. Okay, good. I'm scared of him during RPG night. Be frightened. Alec, my ward, my young student, learn to fear my wrath. Anyway, I imagine so. DMs can be evil. Oh, he is. He threatens Garb's life or what's left of it. But then again, I'm also mean to him. It's love. Sure, Blade, I'm derpy right now, but yeah, be right back. Click on the link. So sweet of you. Appreciate that. I've multiple times. I might break something in the process. It happens. UTs, that's what families do. Yes. Nick! I mean, I wouldn't be able to learn it around Alec until after being legal adult. Oh, no. Alec could totally watch. They just couldn't physically participate. I have 2 miniature ones that set him off to kill Garb, and you should know better. Yes, 1,000 kicks in a row without stumbling, without stopping, without making a single mistake. It was Taiwanese military training, but I didn't see why I needed to be trained that way. What that means is your Sifu saw incredibly high levels of potential in you, but thought you needed to develop discipline and stamina. That's what that means. I've never run well, even as a kid. It hurt. I'm sorry. To be his assistant instructor. And that, okay, there are a couple possibilities. He could have been trying to politely blow you off. He could have been simply believed in you that much. And since I didn't know the man, I don't know his background, but if he was Taiwanese military training, he was holding you to the standards he holds himself, theoretically. And not that interesting, I call nonsense, blasphemy. Aw, thank you. And youtube.com/@thehistoricalfencing-guild. Thank you. And great timing. I just slid back into my chair. Chair! Yes. Thanks, Blade. Thesis. Thanks to Blade. Good evening. I'm wondering why I didn't get notification. I'm subscribed to the bell on. Yes. Because I feature martial arts and weaponry, the algorithm suppresses this channel. Wait, writing in person? Yes, because of Amanda and I being involved in your schooling and a few other things, Alec. YouTube is weird that way. Yes, this is why I specified. In blood, lol. My language, Nick. You're fun. I'm having fun. Well, now, who's first skit? Bwahaha. Language around Alec is a minor. This is true, too. Oh, okay. Okay, you mean like swearing and stuff. Oh, Lord in heaven. Yes, we would never swear around a teenager minor who's learning how to sword fight. That never happens. That would be inappropriate. But, sorry, I took the language completely meaning something else entirely. But, look, random curl just decides to manifest. Anyhow, yeah, that he was holding you to military standards. Believe it or not, it's going to sound odd, but take that as a tremendous compliment, because I believe it really was in that case. And yes. So, because if you've noticed, I've asked you, Thesis, many times to start writing your manual. I hound Sword Sage all the time about it too. Please, if you won't go on to his channel, hound Sword Sage as well. And I'm giving my hair a trim later. Not a major one, but it's getting too long. We don't talk about green kitchens. I don't know what you're talking about. But before I get myself in trouble, friends, that we are an hour 13 into my hour-long show. So I do want to same with video games. Oh, yes. Yes. The I don't yell at things that come out of my mouth that make his parents ban me from. And of course, you would never. Certain ceiling things in game. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. But with that, I hope I answered the questions that were ported to me by the people who aren't in the chat right now. I like being able to do these more educational programs. To my patrons, I will be, once again, trying to upload those videos up to be available for download for the Patreon, and I'm setting some things up there. I'm just incredibly swamped right now because in 3 weeks, I will be one of the hosts and doing a whole lot for StompCon. If you arrive late, please remember that StompCon is a free-to-the-public indie tabletop gaming convention that will be held September 7th, 2024, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, Benton County, Co-op extension at 410 South Aidway A, Fowler, Indiana, 47944. If you happen to make it to IndieCD.com, it's the same venue where we held the author convention in February. The timing is not off. That's very deliberate. So I hope to see many of you there. While I will be focusing on big stompy robots and art and running the convention and shenanigans, I'll be happy to talk swords and techniques with people. We won't be able to demonstrate much there due to insurance reasons. But please come by. And please, if you don't mind, if you come by, leave a little something in the tip jar, because I'm not going to be charging people what I should, and I'm keeping it free because the economy sucks. But anything that people can do to offset for me to be able to do it next year would be appreciated. And we have, love you, Alec. Love you, Sarah. See, you guys are gorgeous. Okay, now, with that, guys, keep your eyes open, keep your guard up, be kind to yourself and each other. And friends, as always, support your local sword master. I love you, and you should too. I will be back next week at the same bat time, same bat channel for the Historical Fencing Guild live stream. Monday, I will be on the sister channel to this, at Nicholas Tockert for Nevermind the Furthermore. And those will be available sometime this week. And I do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. for the people who haven't made the jump. Thank you. Have a great night, folks. Toodles.